The morning of my graduation felt strangely ordinary, not disappointing, not exciting, just flat. I ironed my clothes in the dorm laundry room because my iron had broken weeks ago and I never replaced it. I pinned the hood incorrectly the first time and didn't bother fixing it until a classmate pointed it out. I checked my phone out of habit, not expectation. No messages. By then, I had already stopped checking for updates from my family. The night before, my mother had sent a single text, "We'll call you later." No emojis. No time. Just later, floating somewhere undefined. Later, I found out they had left at dawn. A spontaneous trip. My brother had suggested it. He was stressed, apparently. Needed a change of scenery. They agreed it would be good for him. I walked to the venue alone, blending in a crowd of families carrying flowers, balloons, signs with names spelled in glitter. Parents arguing about where to sit. Younger siblings chasing each other between rows of folding chairs. A father in a suit complaining loudly about parking. I kept my hands in my pockets so no one would notice they were empty. When my name was called, I stood because that's what you do. My legs moved on instinct. The applause was polite and general, not meant for me specifically. The dean shook my hand. Someone took a photo I would never see. Halfway across the stage, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I almost ignored it. I wish I had. The screen lit up as I stepped down the stairs. Estadla's come home immediately. That was it. No congratulation, no explanation. By the time I reached my seat, the screen filled itself again. Missed calls stacked on top of each other so fast they blurred. 37 by the time the ceremony ended. I didn't call back right away. I sat through the rest of it. Listened to speeches about resilience and community. Watched strangers cry while hugging people who had shown up for them. I clapped when everyone else clapped. I stood when everyone stood. Something in me hardened, not dramatically, not painfully. Just enough to hold its shape. Outside, I finally checked the voicemail. My father's voice was tight, controlled in that way that meant panic underneath. Something about my brother. Something about needing me there. The words "S family comes first" made an appearance, as they always did. Something was being asked of me. I didn't move. I walked instead to the administrative building across campus, the one I had been meaning to visit all week but kept postponing because it felt indulgent to prioritize myself. Inside, the air conditioning was too strong. The floor smelled faintly like cleaner and paper. A woman at the front desk smiled and congratulated me when she saw the cap under my arm. That should have been the moment I cried. I didn't. She handed me a form I needed to sign in person to finalize my acceptance into a postgraduate program tied to a conditional offer. I had known this. I had told my parents weeks ago. They had nodded distractedly while my brother talked about his plans instead. I signed my name slowly. While I was still there, my phone rang again. I answered this time. "Where are you?" My father asked immediately. No greeting. "I'm on campus," I said. "You need to come home. Now." "I can't." A pause, then sharper. "Why not?" "I have an appointment," I said. It was true. "I told you about it?" I imagined him standing somewhere unfamiliar, phone pressed to his ear, trying to recalibrate the situation. I imagined my mother nearby, listening. My brother probably irritated, probably oblivious. "This is more important," he said. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I didn't explain myself the way I usually did, then stacking reasons carefully so they would sound reasonable enough to deserve consideration. "I'm not available," I said. The silence stretched. It wasn't anger yet. It was confusion. "You can come later," he said finally, softer but edged. "We need you." I looked at the paper in my hand. My signature still wet with ink. "I'll come when I'm able," I said. "Not immediately." The line went dead. I stood there for a moment longer than necessary, letting the hum of the building settle around me. No one rushed me. No one demanded anything. Outside, the crowd had thinned. The sun was higher now. Someone laughed somewhere behind me. A group of graduates posed for photos near the fountain. I walked past them. On the bus ride back to my apartment, my phone stayed quiet. That felt louder than the missed calls. Later that evening, my mother texted, "Hey, your father, is very upset. He doesn't understand why you weren't there when we needed you. I stared at the message for a long time, thought about typing a response, deleting it, typing again. In the end, I sent something simple. I had something important too. She didn't reply. I don't know what exactly happened on that trip. I never got the full story. Only fragments later, offered in pieces, as if testing whether I was still available to absorb them. What I do know is that something shifted after that day. Not loudly. Not cleanly. I wasn't punished. I wasn't disowned. There was no dramatic confrontation where everything was finally said. There was just a new tone. Requests instead of commands. Delays instead of demands. Occasional irritation when I didn't respond immediately, but no longer the assumption that I would. At my graduation dinner weeks later, attended by friends and one professor who insisted on taking me out, my phone stayed face down on the table. I didn't check it. I didn't need to. I had walked across a stage alone. I had signed my name without witnesses. I had stayed where I was told to leave. It wasn't a victory. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like standing in a room where the air finally belonged to me, even if the door behind me was no longer fully open. And that was enough.